a couple picks and he's still on the board. Does Carolina go up and take a really short quarterback?
For the record, I don't think that anybody is going to drop Bryce Young hard because of 5'9".
I absolutely do. I absolutely do think that he will drop because of his height. It's starting to be talked about more and more. And when he gets there, unless he says, you know what, I decided not to come to the combine because he hears all the noise and he knows he's actually going to be measured and they're going to find out what his actual height is.
See, maybe it's just me. I just don't see that happening. You don't get a Heisman caliber, national championship winning quarterback that many times that you drop the guy because he's 5'8" instead of 6 foot or 5'9" instead of 6 foot. Remember,
how's the short guy working out in Arizona? 6 foot. Yeah, right.
Do you think, well, Kyler Murray didn't have the pedigree that Bryce Young had, arguably speaking. But I get your point. You might not be wrong. I would say that I don't see any of the Kyler Murray headspace problems in Bryce Young. Bryce Young is a nose to the grindstone kind of cat.
No, I agree. But I think there can be some movement depending on what happens this week at the combine, especially with the quarterbacks, especially with Bryce Young not throwing and CJ Stroud throwing. So if there was someone thinking, okay, Bryce Young's going number one, no doubt CJ Stroud's going to be there at number two, then CJ goes out and tears it up and Bryce ends up being 5'8.5", then suddenly CJ is projected to go number one. That changes how people are going to try to vie for that number one spot.
Hudson said, well, we could try the Kansas City route and, just use our draft picks wisely.
They already do that. And it's worked out pretty well for Carolina, but not good enough. They've drafted really well over the last 5 or 6 years, or maybe historically, I don't know, but at least in the last decade, the Panthers have drafted really well. But the one thing that they can't find is quarterback. And they've tried so many times lately with using retreads, and it hasn't worked. Trade it all away. Go up and get CJ Stroud. I'm not going to change.
I know you're not.
All the way up till draft day.
I know you're
and
not.
I'm not the only one saying it.
I am not trying to convince you. I am trying to.
Me and Rashad, we're like this on this.
I'm interested to run the series by Rashad tomorrow, which we'll do at 9:40 tomorrow. Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joins us every Thursday. Like I said, the curiosity for me comes in here. I can see a situation where the Panthers get screwed, right? I can see a situation where they get screwed, where Chicago trades back once, trades back twice, where Arizona elects to trade back out of 3. And I can see a situation that I honestly don't even think is that far-fetched. I can see a situation where the 4 quarterbacks, Stroud, Young, Levis, and Richardson, come off the board 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. And the Panthers are left holding the bag, right? Needing a quarterback, and then just none of the draftable quarterbacks are available. Now, there is one option on the table if that situation plays out. And that one situation, though, is the Panthers trade back from number 9. They trade back toward the middle to end of the first round. And as Hudson has been pounding on his keyboard for like a week and a half, they take a shot on Hendon Hooker. They take a shot that the ACL reconstruction is going to go just fine, and the explosive guy that had Tennessee in a playoff position until they fell to South Carolina can do the same in the league, which I'm not totally on board, but I'm not totally against the notion either. So is there a situation where the Panthers get screwed, where Richardson, Levis, Stroud, and Young are unavailable, and then trading back for a quarterback becomes the right play? I don't know. On top of that, if those quarterbacks do go 1, 2, 3, 4, which, like I said, I think is a improbability but possibility, does that create a situation where other teams panic and start overdrafting the rest of the quarterbacks?
Hold on, Tom Brady's trending.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce that I am making a return. The San Francisco 49ers.
Never mind. He was just spotted on his new yacht in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh.
I think that's the reason why.
Oh, okay. Bryce Young, Stroud, Levis, Richardson, the top four. Your next quarterbacks in line. Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. Now, CBS Sports Radio, pow, has put together their draft rank board amongst their draft experts, Lonzo. They have Bryce Young ranked as the second best player in this draft. They have CJ Stroud ranked as the fourth most valuable player in this draft. They have Will Levis ranked as the eighth most valuable player in this draft. They have Anthony Richardson ranked as the 19th most valuable player in the draft. Lonzo, the next available quarterback, according to their rankings at CBS Sports Radio, is Hendon Hooker. Young 2, Stroud 4, Levis 8, Richardson 19. Where do they have Hendon Hooker ranked in this class?
37.
119.
Wow. I was wrong.
119. Tanner McKee, 152 out of Stanford. Jaron Hall out of BYU, 168. Max Duggan, Heisman finalist, national championship quarterback, 180. You don't get one of those top four? Reach. Back after this to wrap up hour number 1 of the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Clemson 64-57 last night. Cavaliers are 14-5 in the ACC. The Tigers dropped to 13-6. Boston College with a 71-69 win at Wake Forest. Duke beat NC State 71-67. Blue Devils 13-6 in the ACC. The Wolfpack 12-8. The Eagles outscored the Demon Deacons 45-37 in the second half. Wake Forest 10-9 in the ACC. Boston College 9-10. Sun Belt Championship first round, Arkansas State eliminated Coastal Carolina 86-69 in the final. In the SEC, Mississippi State beat South Carolina 74-68. NBA tonight, the Hornets host the Suns. Charlotte riding a 5-game winning streak. NHL tonight, the Hurricanes visit Vegas. Furman Paladins basketball plays all season long right here on the Fan Upstate. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. With the Sports Flash, I'm Chuck Sanders on the Fan Upstate.
Tens of thousands affected by the toxic water at Camp Lejeune are left with death, cancer, Parkinson's, dementia, birth defects, and other serious illnesses. And along with the harm, so many worries.
My family drank Camp Lejeune water. What if our health gets worse and we need more financial help?
How do I protect my VA benefits to get the compensation I deserve to me?
The answer is simple. Call James Harris Law, the experienced, trusted law firm that can get you significant compensation while protecting all your VA benefits. We're already fighting for hundreds of Marines, families, and civilians who drank Camp Lejeune water. But if you miss the deadline, you could forever lose your rights.
So apparently they didn't like my hockey puck solution for propping the door open. And so they found a door stop.
Actual door stop.
Yeah. I had the hockey pucks inside the door about that length. And it looks more sportsy with the hockey pucks in the
It
door.
does.
It was also kind of dangerous because if someone tried to close the door wrong, the pucks might have flown out and someone. So I MacGyver things, and then people complain enough till they finally, when I asked, I was told there were no door stops.
You had a door stop. It just wasn't a traditional one.
Right.
They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of names. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com.
Really?
ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.
Someone is saying Carolina should go all in for Derek Carr.
Who is someone?
Somebody that I used to know.
Ding, 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 ding.
try not to break a rule here.
Ding, 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 ding.
You know what? I don't think I have that on my Spotify. I'm going to have to remedy that. Just like I went and added DuckTales so I could be sad. And apparently I didn't have the X-Men theme on there from the animated series. And I found a metal version. The metal version is killer, dude.
Life is like a hurricane.
No, I'm talking about the X-Men. I'm talking about the X-Men theme. Not that thing.
Race car, trains, and airplanes.
You're gonna hurt yourself.
It's a duck blur. Let's solve a mystery.
That's death metal more than traditional metal.
It is. I think Chippendale's better. As far as
I decided to buy
Theme
an
songs
old school Gatorade, and I know that that's going to happen, and it's so worth it. Courtney was like, "Why do you need one?" I was like, "It's a sports show. I should have a
yeah, you should.
classic on the field football bottle." You know.
Kevin, what's your deal, man? It's almost like you root for an NFL team that never makes it to the big game,
Shots fired.
but gets all the hype. So you got to come at me.
Nightmare scenario for the Carolina Panthers. Here it is laid out. Chicago trades back with Houston. They take Young.
I thought you were going to say that Matt Rule came back.
No, that's hell on earth scenario. Nightmare scenario for Carolina. Chicago trades back with Houston. They take Young. Chicago trades back with Indy. They take Stroud. Arizona trades back to Atlanta, Detroit, Seattle, somebody. They take Richardson. Chicago at 4 trades back with Atlanta, Detroit, Seattle, somebody else. They take Levis. 4 quarterbacks off the board in the top 4 picks. And Carolina at that point did not sign a free agent quarterback, right? This situation scares me enough, Lonzo. I think I'm signing Derek Carr, and I think I'm doing it now. It does, because I cannot be left at the NFL draft holding the bag with nobody but Matt Corral.
What is wrong with all of you guys? How are you convinced that Carr is the answer? If you're going to do that, just stick with one of the guys that you already had. He is not the answer.
If you can't get Chicago to trade with you, because at this point,
what about Garoppolo? He's going to be out there.
Okay, fine.
Go
Garoppolo.
get Garoppolo. No, there's a difference between Garoppolo and Carr.
All right,
you know what?
I should clarify.
Garoppolo, winner.
Right, but here's the other aspect of it. And listen, I don't frequently delve too deep into the finances because I am what is colloquially known as an idiot. Right? Jimmy Garoppolo is a high risk, high reward guy, right? Because we know he's been banged up a few times. You don't want to go all in on Jimmy G. He shows up, he plays 3 or 4 games, gets some momentum, and then his knee locks up on him, and now you're going to Matt Corral.
He's gonna want that kind of money that David Carr wants, though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Derek Carr's looking
Derek,
for 30.
David,
I was just gonna play it off.
Yeah, they're
David's
both
his brother.
Yeah. Well, I think of them in the same way.
Derek Carr wants $35 million guaranteed. Garoppolo's probably going to get like $28 million guaranteed. Garoppolo's going to want like $28 million. He's probably going to get $24, $25 million guaranteed. That's my guess. But like I said, the other thing you don't want to do is build this team, build everything the right way. Then you bring in a quarterback who gives you 3 games and his knee pops. And I'm a little concerned with that with Garoppolo. I'm not worried about that with Derek Carr, at least not as much. All right, what do y'all think about my nightmare scenario? And if we do end up in that spot where 4 QBs come off the board, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we are stuck holding the bag, is the right move to, during the draft, be on the phone with whatever free agents are remaining out there? Or is it to trade back 20, 30, 40 spots and grab Hendon Hooker and cross your fingers and hope for the best?
Why trade back? I mean, you've already got picks back there. Just use one of those.
Because taking him at 9 is the reachiest reach.
No.
to ever be reached.
You pick somebody
Oh,
else
you're
at
just saying pick
9.
another player
Yeah, you got a
and
ton
ride
of
it out.
picks.
Fair enough. Do you go? Because if 4 come off the board, there's a very good chance that one of those top tier players is still available at 9. Let's take a break. We'll come back here and get into hour number 2. Get away from the draft. Get into some other stuff. What are your thoughts? 844-326-3663. Rob, Lonzo, you. It's the Fan Upstate. I saw the sign and it opened up my eyes. I saw the sign.
You know the value of time. GetRefunds.com does too. That's why they've made it easy, no matter how busy you are, to apply for the Employee Retention Credit or ERC. Go to refunds.com to get started and qualifies for ERC assistance. Your business may be eligible for a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee kept on payroll during COVID-19. GetRefunds.com has already helped clients claim over $3 billion in payroll tax refunds through the ERC, and they may be able to help your business too. There's no upfront charge either. They don't get paid until your business.
You know, the worst part about the hour drive is I had to go to the restroom for half of it.
The whole time.
Yeah, and made my way around, got back on 385 and hit another backup. And it's like, wow, Tom Brady thing must be something more than what I found, because it's now jumped up to the top of my trending with 5,777 tweets. But it's impossible to find why something really is trending. And then I'm forced to look through a bunch of Tom Brady pictures. Okay. I'm going with that. I am not telling you what that is. But
I try not to look at the topics that are trending.
Yeah, but I don't normally tell you because
Yeah.
I normally won't go with Tom Brady, but I'm going with it on this, so don't look it up. Although you probably won't find what I just found.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. With warmer spring temperatures, hang your clothes dry outside instead of using the dryer. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Kansas City Steak Company, another AmericanEagle.com success story. Starting in 1932 as a family-owned butcher shop, today they're a leading distributor of superior all-American steaks delivered right to your door, right to grill and your taste buds. Jump into their website, an average site wouldn't do. They chose AmericanEagle.com to take their website to the next level. With a dramatic increase in competition and a softening market demand, they have 2 challenges: improve their brand presence and message, but produce a positive return. AmericanEagle.com got to work and executed usability studies and detailed audits of site experience, digital assets, and marketing. The results: an integrated digital marketing and customer experience plan, organic traffic increase of 20%, and a long-term roadmap for success. If you love great steaks, go to KansasCitySteaks.com. The website design, development, online solutions that bring efficiency and results. Visit AmericanEagle.com.
Visit the website, call the team at AmericanEagle.com at 877-WEB-NOW1. That's 877-WEB-NOW1.
Now, CBS Sports Radio.
Here's how to get in the game. On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville. 97.1 FM, 950 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone, download the Odyssey app, and search The Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate. On your HD radio at WFBC HD3. There's just one more thing. And on your computer at The Fan.
FanUpstate.com.
Have you heard the Rob Brown Show?
Rogers is creepy.
You're creepy. Mr. Rogers is a national treasure.
Count the kangaroo all day. No way, Mr. Rogers. No way. People don't come in and change their shoes like that. People don't wear a sweater like that. If that guy lives down the street from you, you stay away from him.
Mr. Rogers is a national treasure, an absolute icon. Many years rumors have gone around that Fred Rogers flipped kids off on his TV show. The truth is he did inadvertently. He was singing Where is Thumbkin with children. When he got to Tall Man, he proudly displayed his middle fingers because that's how the song goes. Oh, and Mr. McFeely was the speedy delivery guy, was Rogers' middle name.
Wait a minute, Mr. McFeely? Oh, yeah, that's a good name for a kid's show. Come on, Rob.
Fairness, it was Mr. Rogers' middle name. His middle name was McFeely.
Hey, you know, we're going from Mr. McFeely to Deshaun Watson. What a transition. Hello, let's talk about happy endings.
Same great show, new time.
The Rob Brown Show.
Now 1980, only on The Fan Upstate.
When it comes to the best sports talk anywhere, so on, man. Listen to The Fan Upstate on Odyssey no matter where you are. In the car, at home, at work. Download the free Odyssey app on your phone. Search The Fan Upstate and you're in the game. Hey, now we roll. The Fan Upstate. The Fan.
State.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3 Greenville. The official sports voice of you. The Upstate Fan. CBS Sports Radio. Live on the free Odyssey app.
Man, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown Lockdown.
Represents me a win. Yeah.
Real unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Yeah. Only.
The Fan Upstate.
Our numerados of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob. He is the great one, Lonzo, and you are phenomenal people. Thank you for hanging out with us. 844-326-3663. Text us. 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. And we'll read them on the air. You can tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word. I will also tell you that I have, moving forward from today, during the show live, I will be handling myself on the Fan Upstate Twitter. That's a bad way to phrase that.
Come on, dude.
That's
Come
a
on.
bad way to phrase
with
that.
this crowd, you really
Yeah.
went there?
I regret that immediately.
It's the heat in the room. We'll
I'm
go
gonna
with
blame
that.
it on that.
Yeah, okay.
From this point
That was too
forward-
long for me to dump.
From this point forward, I will be active on the Fan Upstate Twitter account during the show, at the Fan Upstate. So you can tweet me at the Rob Brown Show. You can tweet the show at the Fan Upstate. I will be on the Fan Upstate Twitter account during the show. Texter says, I want to see you handle yourself. Well, my OnlyFans is not up and running yet.
See what you done did?
I know. As soon as I said it, I was like, this is going to be an uncomfortable 7 to 10 minutes for me.
You're going to make Mandy Rose money and then we won't see you anymore?
Texter said, handling myself? That's what she said. I know. I want you guys to understand that I am live on the radio 15 hours a week at the minimum. 15 hours a week at the minimum. The fact that I will be handling myself on Twitter is the only dumb thing I've said so far this week.
It's Wednesday. Yeah. I was just trying to figure out what day it was.
The fact that I am in hour number 8 of 15 this week, and that's the worst thing I've said so far, I frankly deserve a pat on the back for that. All right? I should be commended that the worst thing that I said. Texter said, just heard that Mr. Rogers clip right before Rob wants to handle himself. It's just going great.
So
everybody.
that's a bad combination. It really is.
You can call me Mr. McFeely. Texter says, does the you handling yourself cost extra, or is it included with the free subscription?
If you want to watch the show, you can see us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. Hudson, I really enjoyed his comment.
Hudson said, let's see them feet, boy.
Is that what we have to look forward to on your OnlyFans page?
Oh, it's just going to be feet.
Nothing
ticks,
but feet.
feet pics and handling myself. Yes.
Please stop.
Yes.
Please stop.
Can't wait to bring back Rob Brown After Dark.
I don't want to see a head pop in that door here in a second and go, I'm doing the crossing the neck thing, the slash.
The old Fan Upstate Skinamax edition coming to a computer screen near you. Texter said, how's it hanging? It's going really great. How are you? Because that's what you meant, right? What you meant is just, how's my life going? And the answer is obviously amazing. Texter said, fan, hashtag, boing. Oh, man.
I think the real question here is, how long does Rob wear that jersey? Because he didn't dress appropriately for the room today. And I've just been wondering, is that why we're frequently going into the hallway?
I have two responses. The first is I have on a schmedium undershirt underneath.
Let's go with the gun show, man. Come on.
No. And the second thing is, I want you to know I truly and genuinely appreciate your efforts to derail the handling myself conversation that I accidentally started.
Yeah, and then you're going right back to it.
Listen, I own my mistakes. Texture said, insert Marvin Gaye music here. Bound.
See, I would use our music, but I'm so ticked because DA, they stole our music and our bit because I did that first.
But ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, if you've been jonesing for a little extra Rob Brown in your life, follow the Fan Upstate on Twitter, where Rob will handle himself live every day during the show. You've never seen anything like this. And for just 96 easy payments of $49.99, you can get all the feet pics you want, you dirty little animals, you. Go to twitter.com/thefanupstate. Join the live stream and watch Rob handle himself just for you. Did DA use the exact same music, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Did it
They use
really?
the music and they use the same style of what we did on this. I mean, I guess imitation, that the whole thing, the biggest part of flat, that's crap, man. They stole our bit. All right, we did it way before they did. And we used the same exact, and I get we're all Odyssey, okay? I get that. But I found this music a long time ago. We've used this several times, then suddenly it shows up on their show. I mean, you know, I don't, there's nothing we could do about it. National show, local show, all that kind of, but we did it first.
Go to Twitter and follow the Fan Upstate, the exclusive home of Rob Brown handling business.
All right, it's good.
I regret this segment entirely.
Well, the last part really.
I regret this segment entirely. Texas says Rob thinks his feet are worth $4,800. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now.
He
if
didn't.
you
He didn't
send
do the
me-
math. He had no idea how much he was actually
Not at all.
saying.
If you send me 48 grand, I will absolutely send you pictures of my feet. Listen, I have seen
All right,
the amount of money-
you're haggling prices here. We're getting into some place that we really don't need to get into. I'm just saying.
48 grand, you can have pictures of my feet. No problem. Texas said, okay, I am very uncomfortable. Let me tell you
Hey,
how this works.
For $10, you send me $10, I'll get you some pictures of his feet.
All right, that's actually weirder.
Yeah, well, you're gonna wear sandals eventually.
It's actually weirder. Texas said, okay, I am very uncomfortable. Listen, this is an old radio ploy. All right. The radio ploy is if you say or do something uncomfortable, Lonzo, you just got to lean into it. Right?
Absolutely.
You just got to own it. One of DA's producers had what do we call it, Lonzo? A minor accident.
He had a behind boo-boo.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Let's just say of all the accidents,
He didn't make it to the restroom.
if I had to
okay?
power rank all of the accidents that have happened on the air, his was number 2. All right. And they ended up just having to own that for like a solid segment because there's nothing else you can do, right?
I still think that's a work, but
you
that's
can't
you know.
pretend it didn't happen, right? You can't pretend it didn't happen because the callers are never letting that go. You just gotta own it. Texter said, sounds like the phone sex line I used to pay for in the 90s. Good voice. Thanks. I appreciate it.
That may or may not be one of Rob's 35 jobs.
Texter said, do you want to share some of your DMs? I bet those are pretty juicy right now. LOL. Yeah, this may shock you, Texter.
Slide up in there and find out.
But as of right now, 0 people have sent me a financial request for feet pics. That might shock you. That might surprise you, but no one has asked at this point. Texter said 48 cents per picture. I'm in. At the TX Experience just tweeted at the fan upstate and said, Rob, stop. I'm in my break room crying. You are so damn stupid, bruh. Have I ever said anything to the have I ever not had a show where I didn't refer to myself as an idiot? That's not a gag. I am one, but it makes me okay at this job, I think. That's where my creativity comes from.
Yeah,
being an
apparently
idiot.
it's not rocket science to do sports, apparently. So, I mean, look at our lineup. I mean, you know.
Joey B says, Rob, tell me what you like about the show. Everyone, not feet pics.
Come on. Aren't you just a little curious? Just a little bit.
Steve says, the Sex Panther returns.
Stop it, Luke.
Luke said, I bet 69 cents on a feet pic. Nice. Nice.
The Gronk of the upstate has spoken.
Texter said, I made $425.25 selling pictures of my feet. Who gave me the quarter? They all did. That's a nice joke. That's well done. Texter said, yes, the alter ego Throb Brown. Do you understand why you have to lean into saying dumb things?
Yeah,
You have
but
to.
but at some point you got to cut it off because it's going to reach a level where you read something you should not read.
No, I'm very good at filtering. I haven't done it
We'll see.
yet.
We'll see.
Yet. All right.
Now you've just challenged them again.
It happens every day. Every day. Somebody gets one, like they wait till I'm on a text roll, and then they're like, let me see if I can slip one in past old Rob Brown, and nobody's done it yet,
So to speak.
so to speak. All right, let's talk about not my feet. What do you say? What do you say we move on past handling myself in feet pics? What a day. Want you all to know that you have now caused my dear sweet mother to have to stop listening to the show today.
This would normally be a time where we go to break, but it's too early. So you're going to have to transition into something.
Luke just pointed out that the name of the show is technically Throb Brown Show. All right. Let's, oh God, what have I done?
With a Southern accent, that's exactly how it sounds.
Throb Brown Show.
Rob Brown Show. Rob Brown Show.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal. James said, text challenge accepted. Good luck. Try your best. I ain't scared. All right. Let's do this one real quick. I'm curious about how y'all feel about this. The Philadelphia Eagles are your reigning, defending, undisputed NFC champions. Of course, they did get defeated by Alonzo's Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl this year. One of the things that made the Eagles successful was utilizing Jalen Hurts' legs and feet.
And feet.
And one of the ways they did that was by creating an NFL version of what used to be known as the Bush Push. Right? Remember that incredible national championship game, USC and Texas?
Never heard it called that before.
The Bush Push. Matt Leinart goes for the sneak. Reggie Bush just gets up and shoves Leinart into the end zone from behind, right? I am now treading into more dangerous territory, and I know it, Lonzo. I know what I'm doing here.
No, there's no question that I believe that you know what you're doing, okay? That's why I'm uncomfortable.
I know what I'm doing here. So they made an improvised NFL version of the Bush Push that I have affectionately referred to, Lonzo, as the Hurts Burst. That's the best I could come up with, and I got to tell you, I think it's pretty good, all right? The Hurts Burst was Jalen Hurts going QB sneak and having one, if not two, running backs run up behind Jalen Hurts and just give him the old forearm to try to shove him through the defensive line. And it worked like a lot. As a matter of fact, during the Super Bowl, one of my old fraternity brothers in my group chat was texting about how the NFL should make that illegal, right? They should make that illegal. Welp, looks like they might. The NFL's rulemaking committee is discussing the Hurts Burst, which is what I'm sticking with.
By the way, I'm not putting Rob Handles himself or the Bush Push or any of that on our chapter titles. I will go certain. I'm just going to put NFL rules changes. That's what I'm putting on there.
Rob Handles himself, feed picks, Bush Push, Hurts Burst. That's the title right there. How's that not going to get 1 million clicks? 1 million clicks.
I have a line. I have found it.
So, the Eagles last year converted 29 of 32 efforts when they ran the Hurts Burst to convert into first down opportunities. I got asked, wasn't this already against the rules? And the answer was no. Back in 2005, the NFL removed language from the rulebook that prohibited pushing a ball carrier forward, and the Eagles obviously not just took full advantage, but they made it one of their signature moves this past season. And now the Eagles are not happy about it. They don't want it to be changed. Quite the opposite. Nick Sirianni, quote, I think some defensive coaches are bringing that up. We'll play with whatever rules they have, obviously. It was a very successful play for us, but it wasn't the only thing we were doing in those situations. I think we had some exciting plays that came off of it when the defenses were trying to stop the push play that they thought was coming, and that's kind of what football is, right? Yes! Let me make abundantly clear. I am all in favor of rule changes that make the game better without damaging its integrity. Part of the fun of offense is the chess match that goes down between offenses and defenses, okay? And part of that chess match is making a defense think you are doing X and then instead doing Y. If you can't stop the running backs jumping up on the rump of Jalen Hurts and doing the Hurts Burst and getting him across the line of scrimmage and across the line to convert, that's on you, bro. That's what linebackers are for. That's their job. Fill up the holes to the defensive linemen, linebackers come over the top and make a play. Why would we outlaw this, right? I don't understand why this is bad. If you don't like it, find a way to stop it. Recognizing that if you sell out to stopping it, and then Jalen Hurts does something else, you better find a way to stop that too. I don't understand why it is that every time in every sport, somebody figures out a way to outthink the game. That's bad. Like, that's a bad thing. I don't get it. I don't like this move from the NFL. Not because of this particular play. The Hurts burst does not burst my bubble. It doesn't bother me. All right? It doesn't upset me. The problem is in the future, we're going to see an Andy Reid or a Nick Sirianni come up with something else that is counterintuitive but works exceptionally well. Are we just going to ban that too?
You know, it's fine. You get to do it for a year.
I mean, it worked for him. It got him to the Super Bowl.
I mean, they could have had an emergency meeting and banned it in the middle of the season, but they let them do it the entire year.
I now have Cocky for a reason tweeting me a picture of his foot. I'm not paying you for that, Cocky for a reason. I'm not doing it.
He's not going to reimburse you by sending you one of his own.
I'm
either.
certainly not. That is correct. My shoes will stay firmly tied on. All right. Texas said freaking Seahawks did this stuff with the safety leaping the lineman. Yeah, again, as James pointed out, your linebackers are defensive running backs. That's their job, right? You should learn to play it off where if you see both running backs make a dash at the rump of the QB, they better step up and be the opposing force on the other side, right? They better step up, tuck in behind those D linemen and push back. If one of them gets to the outside and does not involve themselves in the block, you better send somebody with them and send the other one up there to help deal with the offensive push. That's what this game is at its core. It's matchups. It's Jimmy versus Joe. It's X versus O. Just because an offense went, they can't stop this, doesn't mean we got to make it illegal, man. Honk, honk. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute. Over under win total for the Atlanta Braves is set at 95.5. I'm going to tell you why. That's a great number that I can't touch, despite back-to-back 100-win seasons. We'll address that when we come back, talk a little Braves baseball as we are inside of 25 days to opening day. Stick around. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
All right. I don't know if this is breaking news or not, but have you seen the Jalen Carter news?
I did not.
An arrest warrant has been issued.
Really?
An arrest warrant has been issued for Georgia DT and potential number 1 pick Jalen Carter for reckless driving and racing. And there was alcohol involved too. So you might want to look that up. And he's on schedule to speak at the NFL Combine today at 10:30, which is like in 10 minutes.
Meteorologist Michael Carroll on the Fan Upstate, currently 60 degrees.
Folks, we have a new leader in the clubhouse in college basketball. The Pitt Panthers are now 20-8 against the spread this season, the best in all of college hoops. They went 13-1 in the middle of the season. The Vegas just broke lines and they fell off, but they are back to their winning ways, and that is good enough to win you cash, but not good enough to worry Vegas. Look for Pitt to be a reliable cover for the rest of the year. I'm Kristen Crick. I'll be you.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, Maria in Miami, and Jules in Troy, taking control of everything that's under your
So is he dropping a draft again?
Good find, Joey B. Good find.
I told you about that.
Do what?
I said I told you about that.
The arrest.
Yeah, I was reading it.
Yeah, you didn't tell me it was possibly connected to that investigation.
Yeah, I was just reading that part about.
Okay.
I didn't realize that LaCroix was that guy. You sure that's the same one? Because they don't mention LaCroix being a
As a result of
player.
the ongoing investigation into the January 15th fatal crash that occurred in the 900 block of Barnett Shoals Road, the Athens Clarke County Police Department has secured arrest warrants for Jalen Carter, 21, for reckless driving and racing. The investigation found that Chandler LaCroix, driver of the 21 Ford Expedition, and Jalen Carter, driver of a 2021 Jeep Trackhawk, were operating their vehicles in a manner consistent with racing shortly after leaving the downtown Athens area about 2:30. Evidence indicated that shortly before the crash, the Expedition was traveling at about 104 miles per hour. The toxicology report indicated that LaCroix's blood alcohol concentration was 0.197 at the time of the crash.
They don't mention him being a player. In it. That's why I didn't.
Well, I know it was, let's see.
Sure, it's the same one.
Sponsored by InvisibleFins.com. Over the last 50 years, Invisible Fins brand has
Yeah, it was, can't remember the kid's name. Devin Willock, offensive lineman for Georgia, and football staff member Chandler LaCroix.
Okay. Wow.
Carolina Panthers, Sheriff, and so much more, all on a Hump Day episode. Offsides with Mark Ryan and Jason.
Offsides with Mark Ryan. Stakes.
Well,
No, you go ahead. You got all the information over there. It's everywhere now, though.
yeah, this just dropped. Breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Be a better, be smarter, and beat the books. This is a gross story. An arrest warrant has been put out by the Athens Clarke County Police Department for potential number 1 overall pick, Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter. I want to take you back to mid-January. You'll remember we told you on this show, and it was obviously on, well, every show, that sophomore offensive lineman for the Georgia Bulldogs, Devin Willock, and staff member Chandler LaCroix both passed away in a car accident. Willock, 20 years old, LaCroix, 24. Jalen has now been has had an arrest warrant put out for him now because, and this is from a statement from the Athens Clarke County Police Department, and I'll read it to you word for word, quote, the investigation found that Chandler LaCroix, driver of the 2021 Ford Expedition, and Jalen Carter, driver of a 2021 Jeep Trackhawk, were operating their vehicles in a manner consistent with racing shortly after leaving the downtown Athens area about 2:30 a.m. The evidence demonstrated that both vehicles switched between lanes, drove in the center turn lane, drove in opposite lanes of travel, overtook other motorists, and drove at high rates of speed in an apparent attempt to outdistance each other. Evidence indicated that shortly before the crash, the Expedition was traveling at roughly 104 miles per hour. The toxicology report indicated that LaCroix's blood alcohol concentration was 0.197 at the time of the crash. Investigators determined that alcohol impairment, racing, reckless driving, and speed were significant contributing factors to the crash. The case will be given to the Solicitor General's office. Jalen Carter was likely set up to potentially be, honestly, as high as the number 1 overall pick if Chicago decided not to trade out of that spot. And instead, Jalen Carter is right now being sought for arrest.
I am curious, if you are racing someone, can you be brought up on charges for manslaughter or murder or something whatever, contributing to someone's death?
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know if there are any attorneys out there that can enlighten us to this situation. We would be very grateful for that knowledge. I don't know is the answer. I will reach out to the attorneys that I am aware of, that I know personally, and see if any of them have any insight into this. From what I understand, and I don't know that this is definitively true, it is just my understanding to this point, though I'm not 100% sure yet. My understanding is that the charges brought against Jalen Carter that this arrest warrant is out for are misdemeanor charges. That is as of right now. Once the investigation and the case get to the Solicitor General's office, that is effectively the district attorney. Once it gets to the Solicitor General's office, the DA's office, they will then have the opportunity to decide if those charges should be elevated or if further charges could be brought against Jalen Carter for his role in this accident. Now,
does this sound like a cover up to you? The fact that we're just now finding out that there was another car involved in this?
Not necessarily, because now there's a couple of things that I want to know. Number one is I want to see the list of charges that are brought, because I don't know what the official charges are. If he is charged with leaving the scene of an accident, then maybe a little bit. If he is not charged with leaving the scene of the accident, perhaps maybe he was out in front of McCroy and was unaware that the accident happened, right? I mean, you can't leave the scene of an accident if you are unaware that the accident took place. So I think that possibility is there.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're racing someone and you look back, they're gone, you're probably texting them or something and saying, "Hey, man, where are you at?"
Who knows, right? Who knows? I don't think any of us do or honestly can know that. I will be interested to see what charges are on the arrest warrant when they come out. I would be interested to find out, and again, this is, I believe, county by county. The county does not necessarily have to make an open investigation public, right? They don't have to let you know that an investigation is taking place in the first place. So therefore, reporters in that area may not have known to have dug deeper into this story, right? They may have heard about the accident that took the life of McCroy and Willick and just assumed it was a single car accident because they did not know there was further investigation into anybody else being at the scene. The police may not have known until days or weeks later that this happened in the first place. I don't know that there's any way, right? Texas says about the only crime they'll get him on is leaving the scene of an accident, and it's going to be hard to prove. Man's going to walk with an easy misdemeanor. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I said, I'm not an attorney. I don't know how these things play out. I will say this. I suspect that if they were indeed able to prove that the Jeep Trackhawk that was being driven by Jalen Carter was also involved, again, quote, the evidence demonstrated that both vehicles switched between lanes, drove in the center turn lane, drove in opposite lanes of travel, overtook other motorists, and drove at high rates of speed in an apparent attempt to outdistance each other. I don't know that they would be able to, for instance, get him for a DUI because they obviously can't test it 3 weeks later after they've arrested him. But it certainly sounds like they've got enough evidence right now to believe that he was, if nothing else, involved in reckless driving, which could be elevated based on the fact that he was putting other motorists in danger, which is evidenced by other
that's
motorists
the thing.
reporting he overtook
There would
them.
have to be witnesses. There would have to be people reporting that there were two cars doing that, unless they have camera feeds or something to prove that. Or else, how would they know that a race was going on?
That's a great question.
Or maybe there were texts going back and forth between the two or something like that. I don't know.
No idea. So this is going to be interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, just to see what this case looks like, what these charges are when the arrest warrant drops, right? I think that's the first thing that we're going to be very interested in. The second thing, Lonzo, the vehicle that McCroy was driving was a university vehicle. That, according to the university itself, right after the accident, McCroy was not authorized to be operating, right? So you got to wonder if there's any blowback against the university for this being a university-owned vehicle that was involved in the accident, at least the accident that took the life of the player and McCroy. But the other thing that I am curious about watching play out here is going to be this. Does a team, now knowing that Jalen Carter was operating behind the scenes, I don't know if you caught this, 2 or 3 days ago, Mel Kiper Jr. was asked about the fact that he had Jalen Carter a little bit further down the draft board than the consensus 3rd overall pick that most people suspect he would have turned out to be. And Kiper said that there were character concerns about Jalen Carter. There were character concerns, behavioral concerns about Jalen Carter that NFL teams had a problem with. And Mel Kiper Jr. got put on blast, right? He got put on blast. How can you say that? You don't know this kid. You don't know about his life. You're not that dialed in. How could you know this? And then 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is, days later, this drops. So it turns out Kiper was correct because this is absolutely a concern. My question is, knowing what we know, knowing there is an ongoing investigation, knowing that there is a warrant out for an arrest of Jalen Carter that he will have to respond to, and knowing that at the very least, I'd be willing to bet $1 to a donut that Jalen Carter is going to end up facing, at the very least, a civil suit, right? Like the family involved, probably of Willock, maybe not McCroy, because his blood alcohol volume of over twice the legal limit is probably going to restrict any consequences or any payout settlement that might go back to him. But unless they tested Willock's BAC and even so, he's a passenger, right? Like, he's a passenger. So it's not on him, letter of the law, to my understanding. Again, not an attorney. But if there is a civil suit brought against Jalen Carter, then, as Joey B just said, he'll be spending a significant amount of his first-round draft money on that civil suit, both to defend himself and then potentially for a settlement, for a payout. My question here is, Lonzo, if you're sitting there at number 3 and you're Arizona, and Jalen Carter was your pick, which, by the way, the pick is Will Anderson now, all right? Will Anderson, you're now the 3rd overall draft pick in this draft. But if you were sitting there at 3, or maybe you're Seattle at 5, which, by the way, now this gives, I hate to make this about football because this is bigger than football, but now you're Seattle sitting at 5, right? Jalen Carter would have been your pick if he was there. You picking this cat to be on your team? Despite his immense football talent, can you bring this guy onto your squad now? Can you make the old second chance argument that so many teams have made in the past when dude hasn't even gotten to his first chance and blew it already?
Well, here's the thing. He's at the combine and he's talking to people right now. So can he convince you enough to make you go, all right, you got these problems and this is bad. Why should we take a chance on you? Can he convince someone to do that? I don't know. I think he drops quite a bit.
I don't think you're wrong, dude. I don't think you're wrong.
But an NFL team will take a chance for sure.
I have no doubt. I'm intrigued, man. Listen, the NFL already has a pretty bad rap of allowing guys with tremendous talent to effectively get away with some heinous stuff, right? Like the procedure at this point is effectively do a heinous thing, get cut by the team you're on, do a couple of PR, I'm really sorry stunts, and get another team who puts out the memo of, we really believe in second chances. We believe in his heart that player X is genuinely a good person who made a mistake. And yes, there are good people who make mistakes all the time, right? Good people make mistakes all the time. But you have the legacy here of allowing guys to make these kinds of mistakes all the time and get off the hook. Now the question here is going to be, somebody's got to grab this guy, honestly, before there's really even an opportunity for atonement, right? Jalen Carter likely will not have seen the inside of a courthouse by the time the draft takes place. Again, I'm not a legal expert, but the draft is in what? Less than 2 months at this point? He likely will either not have seen or will be very close to getting into the scene of a courthouse for, again, at the very least, a civil trial that'll get brought against him. I don't know how this plays out, but I will tell you it is going to be very intriguing to see how the NFL and its individual teams handle this, right? Could the NFL make Jalen Carter unavailable for the draft? He is ineligible for the draft until this issue is resolved. If they do not make him ineligible for the draft until the issue is resolved, are there any teams willing to grab this cat knowing that there is this situation going on, especially if he does have higher level, like if these are misdemeanors, that's one thing. But if dude ends up getting into a situation where there is a, let's say, felony count against him of some type, right? If there's a felony count brought against him, doing 104 in a county highway, I don't know what the speed limit was on that road, but anybody want to venture it was higher than 60? Interstates through Georgia are 60. You think the roads out of Athens, Georgia are 60 or better? Probably not. So you're looking at cars that were doing potentially north of 50, maybe 60 over the speed limit with other motorists around. And if there's some sort of endangering the life of others felony brought against Jalen Carter, and he has not been to court to even address this or make a plea yet, if you're the Eagles sitting there at 9, defensive line's a spot they need help with, right? Do you make that pick? Does the NFL even allow you to make the pick? I don't know. The point is, this is going to have a really interesting sociological impact on the league. It's a tragic story. It's a terrible story. It's a story about how, if we're being brutally honest, doing exceptionally dumb things like racing a buck 04 down a county highway can cost you your life, kids. It's not worth it to be cool. It's just not. But I'm curious as to see what this does on the reflection of the league and the teams that were interested in Jalen Carter, especially if he has felony charges brought against him. Let's take a break. We'll come back after this. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Yes, little brother. I would say you definitely came in too late.
Yeah, that's why you never comment till you know the whole story.
But you are getting a phone call right now, so answer your phone.
Yeah, that's on him though.
From the Ingles Market Studio, the live from the Free Odyssey.
All right, since we just got a couple of minutes left in this segment, I will tell you, was on the phone with an attorney during the break there. And what I got told was a couple of things. Number one, in some states, though we do not know if Georgia is one of them, leaving the scene of an accident involving a fatality is a felony in and of itself. So if you get in a car accident and somebody dies and you leave that scene, it upgrades the leaving the scene of an accident charge to a felony. The issue here is they would have to prove that he was aware of the accident, right? So if the argument from Jalen Carter is, I was a mile up ahead of this guy and I had no idea that he wrecked, so I didn't know, therefore I couldn't have left because I didn't know what happened, and there's no way to prove that he saw the accident take place, then they probably can't get him for that. He also told me that the charges that are filed, which, again, as far as we know, are misdemeanor charges. He said that now that the district attorney, or in this case, the solicitor general of the county, has the case, the charges are filed. The arrest warrant is filed for those charges, but more charges absolutely can be added, right? He told me that he has had cases where charges have been added to the initial charges weeks or even months after the initial charges were filed. So it is possible that they went ahead and got this filed initially because that's just what they have right now, that the Solicitor General has the case, which means they can continue the investigation alongside the agencies in charge of it. They can continue that investigation and can, down the line, end up adding more charges to the case. So just because there are no felony charges now in the initial arrest warrant does not mean that there won't be any later. Now, as far as what happens to Jalen Carter in the draft, like I said, my question mark was, might they give him an unofficial 1-year suspension if there are felony charges brought up and if they end up sticking, right? If there are no felony charges added and there are only misdemeanors, frankly, I don't think anything happens. The only thing that makes this interesting is that the draft is a month and 26 days away, and it could be that the felony charges don't hit until right around, if not after, the draft.
The other thing that makes it interesting, as pointed out earlier, he's actually at the combine and this news is broken.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of GMs and scouts and all those guys there who can talk to him directly about this.
My question is, do you want to? You know, you are sitting across from a guy who has an active arrest warrant, right? Because keep in mind, it's not, I mean, it is about finding the best talent for your football team through the draft, but there's also the element of, obviously, the optics of this, right? If you sit down with an interview with Jalen Carter today at the draft, you are sitting at a table with a man with an active arrest warrant out that is connected to the fatal accident that killed 2 other people. Now, it was also pointed out, I already caught this, but it was pointed out that the fact that the driver of the vehicle involved in the accident had a BAC that was over twice the legal limit, right?
Well,
there's going to be a lot
yeah.
of responsibility pinned on him as well.
But chances are they came from the same place if they're racing. So there's a good shot that he might have also been drinking. We don't know.
Can't prove that.
Right. You
right?
can't.
And in court,
But
the only thing that matters is
we
what
know
you can
the
prove.
hypotheticals that they throw up, these questions they ask players at the combine. Do you ask a question? Here's a hypothetical for you. You and your buddy, let's say you're on the Colts and you're having a good time and you go out and you decide, oh, my car's faster than his. And then something happens to him and you see something happens to him. Do you go back?
Well, I mean,
Do you, is that a question that should be asked?
I think if you're going to have the stones to sit down with a guy who has an active arrest warrant right now and ask him a question, I think it's very fair to genuinely ask him, what happened? Tell me about what happened that night. Like, tell me exactly what happened. And keep in mind that we are going to have a guy stationed in Athens, Georgia, whose only job every day between now and the draft is checking in with the police every day to find out what they've learned. And the second we find out that one piece of information you gave us isn't true, you're out, right? But my question is, would you even sit down and have the interview in the first place with a guy with an active arrest warrant connected to the death of a teammate because they were being idiots at 2:30 in the morning on a highway out of Athens, Georgia? I guess we'll find out. We'll pay attention to this as it continues to break. Back after this, Rob, Lonzo, you. It is the Fan Upstate. His attorney's not going to let what happen, Sean? Not going to let somebody in there? I mean, and I don't know. I don't know how FOIA acts. I don't know what Georgia's like. Florida has sunshine laws, which basically means that anytime an arrest warrant or arrest is filed or arrest is made, the media can have all the details, right? It is fully out in the sun. I don't know if Georgia has the same style of sunshine laws. I suspect not, but I don't know for a fact. So my question is, what steps can the attorney take to make sure that as this investigation is ongoing between now and April 27th, day one of the draft, that NFL teams can't have somebody there digging through the information? Sean said his attorney won't let him talk about it.
Well,
and I suspect, but again, if I'm
to
a
that
GM,
end,
I go, tell me about it, or we have no interest in
yeah,
drafting you.
but to that end, does the attorney call and tell him, hey, cut off all interviews right now?
Maybe.
And that will hurt him a great deal.
I mean,
also,
I got to assume part of this, if you're the attorney, is get your behind back down to Athens and take the arrest, right? Like, let's get this part over with. We can bail you out. You've got money. We'll bail you out. And then we can start working on getting as much of this figured out between now and April 27th as we can. Well, James, Mel Kiper obviously knew something was happening. So
yeah, but yeah, he knew something. We don't know that
we
he
don't
knew
know that
this.
he knew what was happening. Be right back.
This feature sponsored by Steel. There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. Find tools for the job site or your own backyard at over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com.
SC Department of Corrections is hiring correctional officers, nurses, food service specialists, facilities maintenance, licensed mental health professionals, and more positions statewide. $7,500 to $10,000 sign-on bonuses for various positions available. The Department of Corrections has great employee benefits, like 6 weeks of PTO accrued yearly and police officers' retirement. Start a rewarding new career with great benefits today. Visit joinsedc.com for more info. Sponsored by SC Department of Corrections, SCBA, and this station.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you Raymond in Buffalo, Maria in Miami, and Jules in Troy, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with high-quality supplies for every industry, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to learn.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
I mean, if Jalen Carter was like a 4th round pick, I think this probably flushes out in the news relatively quickly. But he is honestly a top 3 pick.
Possibly was top 3.
moving company and is growing to be the number one company in the world because the talent are very hyper competitive. And if they want to be number one, they realize what they have to do. Everybody else can say that it's not a competition, but when you're trying to be number one, then there's competition. If they're not trying to be number one, then they're missing the boat. I feel like that when you have that mindset, every week you're trying to prove that. And we've been number one on cable for several weeks this year. And that's really, really hyper impressive for a company that's only been around for 2 years.
Same great show, new time.
The Rob Brown Show.
Now 9 noon, only on the Fan Upstate.
Hey, is that the Upstate Fan in the Fan Upstate?
Yeah, 100% it is. It is loud, too.
And dirty and old.
Dirty. Was there like a plume of smoke that came out of it when you turned it on?
It's been on all night, so I didn't turn it on.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. So I don't really want to spend a ton more time on the Jalen Carter story because it's gross and I don't like it. But Jalen Carter was going to be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft. At the worst, top 5, right? At the farthest he was going to fall would be down to 5. And that is if my scenario where all 4 quarterbacks come off the board, 1, 2, 3, 4, ends up coming true, which I don't know if it does or doesn't, but he's either going 3rd to Arizona or Arizona trades out of that spot and he goes 5th to Seattle or another team that grabs him there because there's 4 quarterbacks coming off the board in that scenario. But put all the football aside. James checked in on the stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate. Search The Fan Upstate on YouTube or search The Rob Brown Show on Twitch, and you can find and watch all 3 hours of the show live. He said can this be compared to the Henry Ruggs situation? I'm going to say no. Similar, but no. And I'm going to say no because Henry Ruggs directly caused the death of another person in that accident that ended his career. Jalen Carter, I would say at the best, is indirectly responsible for this.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
Because we don't know that for sure.
Right. I'm going to say is indirectly.
Because you could say racing someone and that someone crashes, you did kind of cause it, didn't you? I know it was up to them to race, but if you're not racing them, they're not racing.
Right. And then also you factor in the fact that the young man driving the vehicle had a BAC that was twice plus the legal limit, right? So it's going to be argued he was involved but not directly responsible, and that's the difference between him and the Ruggs situation. Hudson said, what about this in the Brandon Miller situation? You know, Brandon Miller, we talked about him last week. Brandon Miller brought the gun that ultimately ended up causing the death of that young woman outside of a Tuscaloosa nightclub. That information came to light. A day later, Brandon Miller was on the floor when Bama came up and took South Carolina beat South Carolina in overtime in Columbia. And there were a lot of calls to suspend Brandon Miller, right? Including from me. I thought Nate Oates was irresponsible in the way he handled the situation. Not just the lack of suspension, but the way that he talked about the situation. Oh, yeah, Brandon was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, yeah, but dude, again, I think you've got to know that if your boy, who you were just in line with at the bar, calls you late at night and says, bring me my pistol, nothing good's going down, right? Nothing good's happening. You're probably not hitting up the range at midnight after leaving a bar. You got to know better. But at the same time, He was not directly responsible. He did not pull the trigger. He did not break any laws bringing the guy the gun. He did not break any laws at all that we are aware of yet, according to the Tuscaloosa Police Department. But that doesn't mean that you can't look at the situation and go, yeah, but dude, I mean, you were involved. Maybe you didn't pull the trigger. Maybe you didn't wreck the car. But your involvement in the situation led to the outcome, which was the death of another person. Not good. So, again, I hate talking about these types of situations when it comes to sports, but I don't know how to not do that in this situation, right? This is going to, whatever ends up happening, this is going to have an impact on the optics of both the National Football League and any team that decides to overlook what's happening and draft a kid, right? Now, I had somebody hit me up during the break and say, well, Rob, Deshaun Watson has 22 civil suits against him for inappropriate sexual contact, right? Doesn't appear that any charges are going to be brought or that he'll be convicted on them. But 22 civil cases of inappropriate contact against Deshaun Watson. And my response is right, but Deshaun did get an unofficial 1-year suspension, right? He elected to sit out. But there's a lot of people, myself included, who believe that part of the reason he decided to sit out was that if he did not decide to sit out, he'd have caught a suspension. So why not just take the suspension unofficially? And it got overlooked. Deshaun served his, 8-9 game suspension this year, and then got to play. So if Jalen Carter has no felony charges against him, if they are only misdemeanor charges, and if those misdemeanor charges are unrelated to the fatal accident, right? If he gets hit with reckless driving, speeding, probably not going to get a DUI because, again, can't prove that he was drunk that night unless there's just like, if they can get 3 or 4 witnesses who left whatever event that they were at in Athens, and they were like, yo, Jalen was tanked when he left. If you can prove that, then maybe he catches a felony DUI. Or if there's a witness who will testify that Jalen did see the accident and just kept going, then they can maybe get him with a felony leaving the scene of a fatal accident. But if none of those things come through, right, and he was indirectly involved only in a court, the NFL's got optics. Do they make him ineligible for the draft this year, right? If they do make him ineligible for the draft, do any of the teams that were considering drafting him make us think about it, right? Like, let's say you were Arizona sitting there at 3 and Jalen Carter was your pick. Arizona needs defensive linemen in that division. If Arizona was going to pick Jalen Carter at 3 and now they find out that he's ineligible to be drafted by the NFL, do the Arizona Cardinals come out and go, we don't like that. We disagree with that. We got a problem with that.
That's a bad look on any team that would do that.
But so was shining Deshaun Watson, and it didn't stop Cleveland.
I would, joke it's Cleveland, but I mean, as far as that goes, and wow, that really worked out for them too, man. What a stellar quarterback he was last year for the games that he played. I don't think a team will come out and go, this is unfair. We were going to draft him. How dare you do this, NFL? But I also don't think the NFL will stop him from being drafted.
I don't know, man.
Do you recall that ever happening?
No, but I also don't recall a situation like this, right? I mean, we've seen kids get arrested leading up to the draft. We've seen kids charged going up to the drafts, but I cannot remember. And again, all of this to me hinges on some sort of felony charges being brought against Jalen, right? If it's just misdemeanors, if it turns out to be he gets hit with speeding, that happens. It's not good, right? If he gets hit with reckless driving, that's happened. It's not good, but it ain't the end of the world. You can chalk that up to a young kid with nothing but overwhelming confidence on the mind because he knew that he was about to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft and be a multimillionaire before he put on an NFL helmet for the first time. Yeah, he was acting like an idiot, right? We all acted like, most of us acted like idiots at that age. If I was to tell you that in my 1992 Cadillac Seville with its 3.2 liter North Star V8 engine, that I didn't go fast when I was a kid, I'd be lying to you. And I can only say that now because my dad's not around to beat the hell out of me anymore.
Well, you want to look at me like most of us. Yeah, I went way too fast.
Yeah.
One time racing a buddy
Yeah.
in my 77 Camaro, which went to 120, buried the needle, looked at him because I was beating him, looked over, was 5 feet from the wall, and that was it.
Yeah.
I have never went that fast ever again.
Yeah. I think a lot of us have done it. I think a lot of us have raced. I think a lot of us have driven irresponsibly. I think we've all done it. Oh, by the way, and great pickup from Sean on the stream. I completely forgot about this. The Alachua County Sheriff's Office pulled over and ticketed Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson. Why? Because Anthony Richardson was doing 105 miles an hour down Newberry Road in Alachua County back last April. Judge Mayshawn Rawls ruled he would be forced as punishment, Lonzo, for doing 105, to write an essay on what he learned from the incident and pay $349 in citations and court costs. An essay in $349.
Has that essay been published? I would love to read that.
Great question. I'd be interested. Oh, yes, here it is. You want me to read it? Oh, I can't read it. It's long. It's long.
Was he given a page limit? Write a 10-page essay? Maybe.
I say this thing's got to be 1,500 words or so, ballpark. But nothing happened to Anthony Richardson, right? So the even to
yeah,
say,
but no one died.
and that's the difference here, right? And that's why I've said all of these hypotheticals to me hinge on what the result of the Solicitor General's decision is, right? If he decides or she decides after further investigation to bring felony charges directly connected to the fatal accident, it's significantly different. But if not, they're not going to ban a 20-year-old kid. They're not going to ban the kid from going to the league. He's 21. He turns 22 in April. 21 years old. They're not going to take the kid's life, career, and future away from him based on misdemeanor speeding charges. Even if it was egregious, they're not going to do it. But if the Solicitor General between now and April 27th, when the draft kicks off live in Kansas City, if the Solicitor General brings a felony charge, specifically leaving the scene of a fatal accident or whatever else, then I think this conversation kicks into gear. Either way, tragic story, awful story, and kids, especially you teenagers, getting your licenses, getting your first car, getting to drive yourself around for the first time, listen to your Uncle Rob. I promise you there is going to be a point in time where you're going to look down at the RPM-o-meter and think, let me see what this bad boy can do.
Unless you come from one of those families and they gave you a smart car, then you don't have to worry about it ever.
Don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. Because I promise you, like, you're going to think that you're going to get to impress all your buddies by going, hey, I got the Corolla to 102 last night. I got the Accord to 104 up on the interstate. But that type of traffic violation will be a massive hamper on you for a very long time. A very long time, right? for a very long time. And if you end up getting yourself or someone else killed, there's no coming back. You are good. That is going to be connected to you for the rest of your life. It's not worth it, kids. Trust your old Uncle Rob on this. Let me take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. I promised you a Bravo segment. I get to the Bravo segment, and I do it next. It is baseball season, y'all. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate.
It's not baseball season. Opening day hasn't happened yet.
WORD Weather Center. Here's the upstate's most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Partly sunny skies for today with highs in the mid-70s. Showers and storms then likely both Thursday and Friday with lower 70s for highs. But your weekend looking dry and sunny. Saturday 71, upper 60s Sunday. I'm meteorologist Michael Kerr on the Fan Upstate. Right now it's 64.
And now, Mark Ryan's Morning Sports Spin.
So the USFL and XFL are taking the bull by the horns now in an attempt to capitalize on our football passion the rest of the way. I've been looking at some of the markets that have USFL.
Hey, I sent you something on Twitter.
I've got the following question for you.
You don't need sound. Just watch the first minute of it.
You think our wonderful region in
Within the first minute, you'll see something and you'll keep watching.
USFL or XFL team, would we support it enough for it to thrive and survive? Well, Memphis and New Orleans have teams. Their market ranks are in the 50s. Our market rank is number 57. Birmingham has a team. They are smaller than the upstates. So my $1 million question is, why not us? Why not them?
I already love it just from reading the.
No, don't look away.
I'm looking.
Team like that sometime in the next 20 years. I'm Mark Ryan.
Offsides with Mark Ryan this afternoon, 3 to 7 on The Fan Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, and on the Odyssey app.
You have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big
you see
Lou,
the knife
your
yet?
Provider.
Mm-mm.
800-700-6898.
I bet you looked away when that happened. That's fine.
Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems. And if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1
Did you see the knife?
million policy. Remember,
Oh, it gets worse. Keep watching.
he's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with.
There's another part you'll do that if you see it.
The arm?
No, not that.
800-700-6898.
You see the head?
This is a special
Not
offer for
yet.
all Americans who own a vehicle with
Yup. Incredible. Incredible.
Coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs.
That dude is getting his gold where it needs to go.
Uh-huh.
For covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correct. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-932-8603 now. Drivers who are covered will not have
Can't wait till after the show to listen to it with the sound on.
Plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost.
Oh my
Calls for your
God.
quote today. 800-932-8603. That's 800-932-8603. What do you have to lose? Call 800-932-8603. Again, 800-932-8603.
Sponsored by Taco Bell. Taco Bell is sorry for going too far with its past breakfast. All you need in the morning.
Yes, Hudson.
Opening day,
Yes,
bro.
look, Hudson knew exactly what it was.
Opening day, bro.
That's funny. Hudson knew exactly what it was by the reactions,
Opening day, dude.
especially at the end on the plane when they're looking in the
Yes.
like.
With Mark Ryan and Pete. So we will define the blue blood of sports. Plus, in the different sports, stock up, stock down, or neutral. A catastrophic possibility for the Carolina Panthers, truth serum, and so much more.
I don't even know if that's in English. I don't care. I mean, it's just, give me subtitles. I'm not going to look at that anyway.
Offsides with Mark Ryan.
The landmine to the head.
Yeah,
what I was like,
incredible.
yes.
Let's talk baseball, shall we? We are well inside of a month till opening day at Major League Baseball. Let me tell you what I did yesterday, Lonzo. Headed down to Floor and did a little work as I watched Clemson versus USC Upstate in a little hardball action. And I'll talk about the game in a minute. But I got to tell you, so I got there. I got out of the rental car. I walked up to the stadium. And Floor Field is one of my favorite places in the Upstate, right? When I moved here 3 years ago, I lied to you, by the way. Yesterday was the first day I got here, but we also got in late at night and pretty much went straight to bed. Today was like my first day as a resident of the Upstate 3 years ago. And one of the first things that I did was go to Floor Field, where I watched Furman play South Carolina in baseball. So yesterday I rolled up to Floor, one of my favorite places in the Upstate, and I got there about an hour before first pitch, right? Wanted to settle in, find my spot, all that good stuff. So I got there, and as I'm walking up to the stadium, you know the front gate where they got the big giant baseballs and the statue of Shoeless Joe Jackson. I'm walking up to the stadium gate, Zoe, and before I get in, there's music playing over the PA speakers in the stadium. But before I could even see the field, you walk in through that gate, and you're basically walking into right field, and you can look straight down to home plate. And what did I hear, Zoe? I heard the sound of balls popping mitts. I heard the chatter back and forth between the players. I heard the ping of the Pongo bat giving a little IF practice. The weather was perfect. The sky was blue. I smelled the concession stands getting the food ready. I smelled the grass that just got cut. My man, I had the goosebumps, dude.
Were they playing Take Me Out to the Ball Game as you walked in?
No, actually, they were playing.
That's the only way it would have been perfect, I guess.
They were playing one of AC/DC's new tunes, like off that album they just released last year. I can't remember the name of it or the song that was playing. But they're playing AC/DC.
Tells you how memorable the new stuff probably is.
Yeah, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it. They're playing the new stuff. I hear the sound of baseballs popping mitts. You hear that? I mean, if there's a better sound than that sound when those metal spikes hit the dirt, right? Heard the fungo bat, ping, giving the IF practice. Man, I just got goosebumps, dude. Baseball's back. If there is anything better than warm weather, cold beer, and a live baseball game, I don't know what it is. Now, Clemson's baseball team is currently, and unfortunately, and I don't use this word often, so you know I don't use it lightly either, riddled with injuries right now. So they're in a bit of a struggle. Got swept by UCF last weekend. Played a midweeker on a Tuesday night against USC Upstate. Upstate got the better of them 6-3 yesterday. Clemson jumped out early. Upstate piled them on in the middle of the game, and Clemson was never able to respond after that. Coming up on Saturday, Lonzo, another game I'll be at. How about we open this season with Clemson v. South Carolina at Floor in downtown Greenville, South Carolina? You know where I'll be, kids. You know where I'll be. If you need me on Saturday, you will find me at Floor Field. You will find me live and in living color at Floor Field for a little Palmetto Bowl baseball edition. Come by and see me. I love Major League Baseball. I love the MLB. Man, I don't know that there's anything better than live college baseball. Live college baseball may honestly be my favorite thing to attend. I love football. I'll never stop. I'm a basketball guy at heart, but live college baseball in the sunshine on a beautiful upstate afternoon is untouchable. So Saturday, if you'll be at the Palmetto Bowl of Baseball, which, by the way, now, Zoe, the only sport I have not seen USC v. Clemson in is basketball. It's the only one I haven't seen happen yet, right? I've seen them. This will be my third SCV Clemson game. I saw them once in Columbia. Last year I saw it in Clemson, and now I'll see it here in the Ville. So this will be my third game. I've seen them in hockey. I've seen them in football. Now it's just this. Anyway, love college baseball. If you were at the game Saturday, look for me. I will be there. Let's go with the Atlanta Braves. The Braves last year put together a 101-win season. Back-to-back hundos. Now I believe it is what? 5 NL East titles. But this is interesting. The good news is, according to Las Vegas, the Atlanta Braves are projected to win their 6th consecutive NL East title. That is great if you're a Braves fan. Not so much if you're a Mets fan, because the Mets just keep finding ways to blow it. This will be NL East title number 6 if they get it. But what is more interesting is the over-under win totals set for the 2 NL East rivals out of Vegas. Now, these could go up or down based on how spring training looks. These could go up or down based on injuries in spring training. Guys who are and are not available when opening day gets here in under a month. The Braves over-under total right now is set at 95.5. 95.5. The New York Mets over-under is set at 94.5. Now, to give you some comparisons, the highest over-under in the league belongs to the Houston Astros and the LA Dodgers. Those teams are both projected to win 96.5. The Yanks and the Braves share number 2 on this list. They are tied for the second highest over-under total at 95.5. The Mets, 94.5. Oh, the hiccups. Perfect. Great timing. 94.5 for the Mets. 93.5 for the Padres. 92.5 for the Jays. 89.5 for the Cardinals. 89.5 for the Phillies. I am taking, for the Bravos, the under of the 95.5. But I am also taking them to win the NL East. So how, last year, when the Braves were able to ultimately outpace the Mets by a game and win the NL East, and they had to do it late, right? The Braves were not good in the first half of the season. It's been that way the last 2 seasons.
I was going to say, you're doing that thing where you say
them to win the division.
You say your team's going to underperform, and then there'll be panic at some point, like there have been the last 2 years, and then suddenly the Braves will turn it around. I mean, if they're consistent, how they've done it the last couple of years, panic will ensue. Like a month to 2 months in, then things will improve, then things will get better.
Panic will ensue on opening day if we lose, all right? You know me. But let me give you why I'm actually not panicked right now, and you can go ahead and write down March 1st, and you can throw this back in my face on like April 19th when I'm in a tizzy, all right? The Braves are going to win the NL East this year. They are going to win the division again. Remember, 2 years ago and last year, both times, the Braves won the division. They had to make a rally late, right? 2 years ago, they did it when Alex Anthopoulos went out and added Jock Peterson and a host of trades and got the late season push out of those players to move the Braves into title position in the East. Last year, they got some guys back from injury. They still had Acuna out, but they got some guys back from injury, guys like Ozzy Albies, etc. Dansby turned on late. They made the push back late and got a little bit of help from the LOL Mets, who collapsed with like what? Didn't they have like a dozen lead game in the division at one point, and they just blew it, right? Now, the Braves have two massive problems. And those two problems are the LOL Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies. Both of those teams are going to be very good, both of those teams in division. The Mets also had a 101 season last year. They only got 3 playoff games before they got bounced because they did not win the East. But they have completely overhauled their pitching staff. DeGrom is gone. Taijuan Walker is gone. Chris Bassett is gone. But they brought in Verlander. They brought in Jose Quintana, and they brought in Kodai Senga. The Mets have just put together a very impressive staff. I think Verlander is going to be able to be healthy. He was dominant towards the end of last year. If he carries that into this year, he's very good. Quintana is one of the most underappreciated hurlers in the game. And the Mets, led by the Polar Bear, have a raw power lineup. That is a lineup that if your pitcher catches them on one of his bad days, they're going to wreck you. They're going to jump out to a 9-10 run lead, and you're not going to catch up, right? The Mets are going to be very good this year. The wild card here is the Phillies. The Phillies were a playoff team last year. 3rd out of the East, got in as a wild card with 87 wins. And then what did the Philadelphia Phillies do? They eliminated the St. Louis Cardinals, who were white hot going into the playoffs. They eliminated in the second round the Atlanta Braves on the road. Then they knocked off the Padres and went to the bleeping World Series. 87-win team. 4.5 wins behind the Braves, 4 behind the Mets, still went to the World Series and knocked off both the team that swept the Mets and knocked off the reigning, defending, undisputed world champion Atlanta Braves at the time. The Mets and the Phillies have played phenomenal catch-up to the Atlanta Braves. They're in their back pocket now. Now, I do think the Braves have gotten a little better. There's some good news here. They have been a team that over the past few years have had slow starts, made some moves because Alex Anthopoulos is the GM of the decade and played catch-up and were able to get there. But the Braves got better. William Contreras was very good behind the dish. Sean Murphy is an upgrade. But you lost Dansby. You lost Kenley Jansen, who had some absolute ginormo rocks moments late in the season and into the playoffs for you. And you lost Adam Duvall out in the outfield. There were some moves. There were some moves that helped you get better. There were some moves. You lost Freddie. You lost Dansby. You have lost a core of the guys who made that World Series run for you. But you've also added some guys into the mix as well. The problem is the Mets did too, and I think the Mets added more. The problem is the Phillies did too. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm looking at Trey Turner might get some preseason MVP jingle from me. Trey Turner fits perfectly into that lineup. Trey Turner is a guy who can change that lineup from we've either got to mash or nothing into we're going to consistently have guys on base from the early portion of the lineup. Now we don't need ding us late to win games. We just got to put the ball into play. And Trey Turner's going to score us a bunch of runs because he is. Trey Turner is the single best signing of this offseason. The Phillies, I am taking the 89.5 over. The Phillies are going to win 90 games this year. I think the Braves and Mets are both going to win 90 games, but because of the improvement of the Phillies, the wild card in the NL East, I don't know if the Bravos or the Mets are going to hit their over. The NL East, as it stands, is a 3-horse race. I absolutely believe that the Braves are the best team in the NL East. I absolutely believe that the Mets are going to be stride for stride with Atlanta all year long. In fact, the best thing that the Atlanta Braves have going for them right now is the fact that the Mets have a history of crumbling late. And they might have to depend on that again this year. I think the Phillies are going to be very, very good this year. I think the NL East could very well produce 3 teams that have 90 wins. But because the NL East can produce 3 teams that get 90 wins, I don't think there will be a team that gets 100. Now, I don't know that there are going to be, honestly, any divisions. I think the Dodgers are a 100-win team out of the NL West, but the Padres are much better. The Giants are better. The Diamondbacks were shocking last year in certain spots. They went streaks. And the Rockies at home last year, at home, not on the road, but at home last year, the Rockies were exceptional at home. The AL East, the Yankees are going to win 100 games this year. All right? The Orioles are going to be young, good, young. I don't trust them entirely. The Rays, man, the Rays were such a disappointment last year. Cody Decker and I both on Bet for the Cycle, which, by the way, I will know in the next week or two if we're getting that show back this year. I hope we do. The Rays last year started off looking like a 100-win team, and then they just late in the season. I don't know what happened to them. A lot of injuries down in Tampa Bay, but they fell off way harder than they should have, right? The Red Sox, I have no idea. How were the Red Sox so bad last year? How were they such garbage? The Blue Jays are going to be very good. And if the Yanks don't get to 100, it'll be solely because the O's snag a couple from them and the Jays make Toronto a tough place to play. But the Yanks are a 99-win team. The Central, I don't know. I thought last year, in fact, Decker and I got into a fight last year because he had the White Sox as a World Series prediction out of the AL, and I said, no chance. I think they're good, but they're not going to get there. Granted, the White Sox had the worst managerial direction of any team in Major League Baseball last year. They were atrocious in the decision-making department under Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa, before he let go, was the only manager in Major League Baseball that I called for their job. That's how bad La Russa was at that job. That was a team with World Series hype that when La Russa got canned, he was 63-65. No business being a sub-500 ball club. So if the White Sox get a little bit case of the better manages off the dugout steps, the White Sox could threaten. Outside of that, I don't see anybody in the Central being a threat. The West is interesting, right? The Angels, another team. You have got 2 of the best 5 baseball players in baseball in Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. It is inexcusable that you can't at least make the playoffs. You are saddled with the Houston Astros. The Astros are going to be good again. I don't think as good as they were last year, but they're going to be very good. You were saddled with the Astros. That's tough. But with the A's, Rangers, and Mariners in that division, by the way, Mariners could be really interesting this year too. Same reason that they were last year. They are young, they are exciting, and they have finally upgraded the pitching a little bit. No reason the Angels should be that bad. But looking at the National League, specifically the East, the Braves are set up to win it. You should have a healthy Ronnie Acuna this year, right? He had plenty of time to rest and rehab. Hopefully you're not going to miss any long stretches without Ozzie Albies. Dansby is a clubhouse leader that is gone. It sucks. Vaughn Grissom can play short. Is he going to be as good as Dansby? I don't think he will. But I think he can be a good enough fill-in with the potential to have a better bat. That's where you got to make it up. Give me the Braves to win the division. Give me the Mets to check in second. Give me the Phillies third. But give me a total from first to third in the East of 2 wins a difference. I think the Phillies, Mets, and Braves, all 3 will be closing on the final day of the regular season, playing for a win and a division title. Give me the Braves, then the Mets, and the Phillies, but give me like 93, 92, and 91 wins between them. I'm taking the under for the Braves and the Mets. I'm taking the over for the Phillies, taking the Braves to win the title. Let's take a break and come back after this to wrap up this show. I am Rob. He is Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to The Fan Upstate. Going?
Yes.
We're right back. Stream, don't leave. We will be shortly back.
Which one do you want it to be?
that she's sleeping in the bed. I'd rather she get in trouble for being in the bed than running the neighborhood.
No, Steven, don't do it. That's tonight.
That being said, I'm going to be working from home this afternoon because I got to go home and make sure my dog's not feral.
Yeah, if you have to go check and see if the dog is feral, it's probably too late.
Today, cloudy, warm, and breezy, high of 74.
By the way, that Atomic Heart game is on Game Pass.
Is it? Okay.
I looked last night.
Well, good, because that's what I need is another game.
I didn't see if it was on Xbox One, but it probably is. All right, it's not time for Twitter yet. Just letting you know.
Yeah. Wrapping up the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Let me throw this in real quick. You guys have followed the hilarity of learning all about Russell Wilson's behavior during his last few days as a Seahawk and his first season as a Bronco. My favorite part about it was 178% learning that not only did Russell Wilson have his own private office in the Broncos HQ, but not only did he have his private office, but he had his own training and coaching staff who were also working out of that office. So like Russ had the team, and then he had his own dudes there. Now, I'm going to be real with you, Lonzo. If I was getting paid $24 million to work at a radio station and do a show, I would absolutely be willing to throw a couple of mil to get the best radio coaches in the world here to help me maintain that job, right? And as we have all experienced in this industry, sometimes you get hosts who are wildly successful, who get special concessions thrown their way because, hey, you are producing more than anybody else.
Wow, that really happens in radio?
Shocking, I know. But Sean Payton showed up and went, no mas, amigo. Not happening. You are not going to have your own coaching staff, your own training staff, or your own office. You are a player on this team. But Sean Payton yesterday at the Combine also said, Lonzo, that if the team was winning, nobody would have had a problem with it. And the thing is, he's dead on accurate.
Oh, he's absolutely right. If the team was winning, some other people might be going, you know what? I need to get me some of that.
Coach, let me get a private office, right? I can go 13-3 if I got my own movie theater, right? And Sean Payton's right. And that is one thing that's interesting. In fact, we had a off the air interaction earlier when we were talking about the Jalen Carter thing that said, and I don't blame the listener for feeling this way, but they said, Rob, you and I both know, probably for a fact, that nothing is going to happen to Jalen Carter because he's about to be very rich and a top-level athlete. And like it or hate it, it's true, right? It's true. If Russ Wilson went to Denver and the Broncos were 13-3, won or at least threatened that division, took a wild card spot into the playoffs, won a playoff game, maybe two, none of this would matter, right? If you found out in the middle of his run with the New England Patriots that Tom Brady had his own office, the only person who would have cracked on that was Lonzo.
And I definitely would have.
And he definitely would have. And I know that because for a while there, Tom Brady, and I think Russ Wilson did this too. You remember when Tom Brady was selling special water? It was like alkaline, fancy water.
Alkaline?
Yeah, but I'm trying to think what, like when something
Alka-Seltzer?
It probably just was. when he was selling water with a special alcohol, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, please don't fall for the trap of spending 3 times the money on water because it's alkalized, right? Your body takes care of the pH levels in your water, right? That's literally what your stomach acid does. When you drink water, it takes your internal pH level to the correct level. You don't need to drink water with specialized pH levels. That's literally what your body does. All right?
If you drink too much of it, you look like Skeletor, like Tom Brady.
Also, juice cleanses to remove toxins don't work. Your body already removes toxins. That's what your liver does. Smoothie transition detoxification isn't a thing. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. We let Brady get away with selling voodoo water for years because he was 13-3 and 14-2 and winning Super Bowls, right? Sean Payton's right.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
I hesitated because you're not the boss of me.
I'm not the boss of anybody,
It's
thankfully.
time for Twitter trending
I
topics.
don't like being the boss. When you're the boss, you got to, like, do stuff.
Yeah, well, there's that. Or delegate.
Yeah, I don't want to do any of that.
All right. Speaking of Tom Brady is trending.
Well, you mentioned earlier, I guess he's on, like, there's pictures coming up of him on his new yacht.
Yeah, but that's not the. There are a lot of reasons why it was trending, but the reason why I found is there's a report by a reputable source, at least I consider it to be a reputable
That
source,
Tom Brady's coming back.
that Tom Brady is going to forego going into the booth to do stand-up comedy. And who doesn't want to see that?
So, I like Tom.
I have never heckled before.
I like,
But you know what? You know what?
If the Tom Brady comedy
I
series
might-
comes through the upstate,
Yeah, I might have to go brush up on my heckling.
I respect that. So, look, Peyton Manning could do stand-up comedy, right? We've seen him on SNL, and frankly, he's killed it.
Well, you just walk on stage and people could laugh at his forehead, but still, yeah.
Eli can do stand-up comedy.
It would be like Stephen Wright kind of
Yeah, it
comedy.
would have to be dry
Yeah,
pan,
yeah,
like
yeah.
deadpan comedy, but Eli could do deadpan comedy. Y'all know I like Brady. I don't have a problem with Brady. I think most people who dislike Brady just hate the player, not the game.
Or some of us like hating him because of the school he went to, because he's a cheater and a bunch of other stuff, and because hating him makes you different than all the people who are on that
Sure.
bandwagon still.
Sure. But let me just say it how it is. I like Brady.
The new yacht is sweet, by the way.
I have no doubt. He's
Yeah.
very rich.
Yes. Well, not as rich as he used to be, but
Money,
still.
yeah, fair. Money can't buy happiness, but you can't be sad on a yacht. Okay? I got no interest in the Tom Brady comedy tour. I love him, but it's kind of like the Undertaker is doing these one-man shows, which are like half stand-up comedy, half story. And I'm like, I don't need Undertaker telling me jokes. I got nothing, right? But
Okay.
if
Well,
he comes here, I'll still go see him.
we'll find out. All right. The next thing is trending is Fuddruckers.
Yeah, I saw that trending earlier, and I got to be real. Number one, have not had Fuddruckers, even though it's literally right there.
Dude, we can go like here in 10
I'll tell
minutes.
you what,
We can go.
let's do lunch there and review it tomorrow.
Let's do.
I got to run home today because I think my dog may have escaped the house.
I thought you can't. So you can't go today.
Can't go today. I think my dog may or may not be loose on the streets
Okay.
of Taylor,
All right.
South
All right.
Carolina. But
Well, don't tell people. They'll show
I'm
up.
not. My dog's asleep in the bed.
No,
but
I'm
I gotta go
talking
make sure.
about that we're
Oh,
going
gotcha.
to Fuddruckers.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
I don't care. I like people. After the show
I
tomorrow, Zoe and I are going to go around the corner to Fuddruckers, and I'll have my first Fuddruckers, and we'll review it. That being said, why is it trending?
Well, you've never had it before?
I've never had
Ever?
Fuddruckers. Ever.
So you never had the wedge fries and the hot cheese sauce
Never
that you
had
can.
Fuddruckers.
How do you feel about cheese?
Look at me, Lonzo.
Do you like hot cheese? Do you
listen,
like putting hot cheese on your fries?
on the spectrum of gas station chili cheese dogs to high-end charcuterie at a winery cheese? The answer is yes.
Charcuterie.
I will eat cheese in any form at any time.
All right. Well, we'll go eat it tomorrow.
All
After,
right, tomorrow
for-
after the show for lunch, me and Zoe are heading to Fuddruckers. If you want to join us.
I don't know why it's trending. I couldn't figure out why. People
Fair
are
enough.
missing it in places where they don't have it, but we do.
Fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Perfect timing. See you tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Bye later, brother. Oh, that worked out great. Great.
It's the room and the air being circulated by the fan
Dude,
and
I
all
guess.
that.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It was like the whole show. Marcus says your life is empty until you've had Fuddruckers.
I gotta agree.
All
as,
right.
As long as you get them on a good day, so we should be all right.
All right. Well, we're going tomorrow. If anybody wants to join
How do you
us for
feel like
lunch.
building your own when you get your burger made however you want it?
Is it like a burger bar?
The,
You get the burger in the bun and then you put what you want
and then
on
you
it?
can put what you want on it. Same
I'm
with the
gonna go home and
fries.
take a nap afterwards.
Same with the fries.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Then I'll go home and take a nap.
they even have like ostrich burger if you want.
I love ostrich.
Yeah.
Buffalo burger?
I think they may have buffalo
Okay.
also. I think I've had ostrich there.
Well, we will have it tomorrow. We will review it. If anybody wants to join us, 12:30 at Fuddruckers tomorrow. Everybody else, thank you for watching. You're all spectacular people. Have a lovely rest of your day. We love you and we appreciate you. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Yeah, don't come. I don't want you to watch me eat.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah. Don't do that.